Well, hello again and welcome to our reading of Iliad, Book 3, which we're going to do fairly slowly in the initial stages anyway, and we're up to verse 21. So the subject here is Menelaus, Philos, who is dear to Zeus. So when therefore Menelaus, dear to Zeus, in Noesin from Noeo, spied or noticed ton him. Connected with nous, with your mind, when he spied him, when he became cognizant of him. And as we saw before, we get a slight enjambment here where we get the participle agreeing with ton coming at the beginning of the next line. We saw something similar earlier with the same verb. So Menelaus saw him or noticed him coming. Now we get this makra bibanta, which is a Homeric phrase here. The makra is adverbial. The bibanta is participle from bibao, is the verb, which itself is just connected, of course, with bino, to step. And heroes don't just walk slowly, they step greatly, so with huge strides. So him coming with huge strides, stepping greatly. Pro paroithen homilu. So out in front of the homilu is the crowd, so the rest of the army. So so therefore, when Menelaus, dear to Ares, when he saw him coming with huge strides in front of the host, in front of the crowd, and now we get another simile here. Hos teleon. Now we get this te is often used in these generalizing statements, and you can't really translate it. So it's so as when, so like or as when, a leon, a lion. Ekare is an aorist passive from Cairo, to rejoice, but it is used, it's aorist passive, but it's got middle meaning, and that's quite common for this verb in Homer. You'll see it elsewhere as well. So like a lion rejoices or is made glad. Kusas is from kuro, so the verb here is kuro. Now in later Greek you get kureo as well, but here in Homer the verb is just kuro. And it means to meet with, and it generally takes, well, it often takes a genitive. Here it's taking, it's got a preverb epi, and that forcing it to take the dative here. So it's comes upon with the preverb epi. So having chanced upon or come upon, literally a great body, i.e. a great carcass. Having found, from heurisco, aorist participle, we get either a horned elephos is of deer, and keraon with horns, or a agrion, a wild eiger goat from Ix, and the lion is penaon, participle from penao, being hungry. Malaga te katesthie, and again this generalizing te. For esthio is to eat, katesthio is to gobble up or devour, generally used of animals. Or if you want to insult someone, you can describe them as, you can use this verb to describe their eating, but it's generally in the sense of gobble up or devour. And the mala is intensitive, so he was, and he devours it greatly. A pair an, now the a pair here is something like even if, although. So even if, and the subject of it is, and we do get tet and tet here in the usual sense of both and, so even if takes, from takus, swift dogs, and thalaroi idzeoi, the thalaros is strong, the idzeoi here are youths. The etymology of this word is uncertain. People have tried to connect it with Ia and Zao, who live forever or something, but it's probably just youths, and we're not sure what the etymology is, not very secure. So even if the swift dogs and the strong youths, suontai, subjunctive, from suomai in the middle, suo is to hasten. In the middle it can have the meaning of chase, or to drive away. So, and then the object of that is auton, and it's subjunctive because it's that hasn't happened, so it's after a. So even if the swift dogs and the strong youths might chase him away. Hose, notice the accent here. The hose up here with the accent's like that because of the tet, which is enclitic. The accent here is the sense of thus. Thus Menelaus, ekare, was made glad. Idon, aorist participle, having seen in his eyes godlike Alexandros. Phartoga te sestai aleten. For, now pharto you can mean he said, but it can also mean to think. So he thought, or he supposed, perhaps, and it's taking an infinitive here. He supposed, and it's a future infinitive, he would get vengeance on the Alertan, the sinner, because of course it's Paris who's taken away Menelaus' wife. So for he thought, or he supposed, that he would get vengeance on the sinner. Altika de, but immediately. Now Altop is from halamai. This is an aorist form from halamai. Notice it's got a hard breathing here, but this funny apocryphated aorist form here has a soft breathing. The reason may be that this Altop may be an Aeolic form of the aorist formed from this, and in Aeolic you get a lot of, you don't get as many hard breathings. You get psilosis, I think it's called, where you get rid of the hard breathings to become soft breathings in that dialect. So that may be why it's Altop. But it's an aorist form. It's very, very common from halamai to leap. Kamazde is, you get kamai, meaning to the ground, and the it is an old locative. This is adding on the ending de, so to the ground. So kamai is on the ground, I should say. It's locative. De is to the ground. It's like Athenasdi, to Athens. So immediately he leapt to the ground from his okion, uncontracted from okos, which is a third declension neuter noun, from his chariot, son tukesin, along with his armour, so in his armour. As soon as he saw him, immediately he leapt to the ground from his chariot in his armour. Now, interestingly, if you compare this line with the line above here, up here that we started with 21, with 30, and you'll notice that they're identical, except at the end. So these changed Menelaus dear to Ares with godlike Alexander, but the rest of it's exactly the same, and Homer will often do this. There'll be set phrases here that you can just adapt and make a small change in, and it gives you a whole line. It gives the poet and the reciter perhaps a little bit of a breathing space, because they've already said this line. This is well known in their mind, and they just have to change the ending. So it's quite an interesting feature of epic poetry. So godlike Alexander, so when godlike Alexander then noticed him, Van enter, appearing en promachoisi, in the front row of battle, kataplage philon aeter. This is from kataplaso. This is the aorist passive. The subject's probably philon aetor, so his dear heart literally was struck down, so was terrified, so was smitten. His dear heart was smitten, it was terrified, and aps is back. Now ethnos, in later Greek of course it means race, but here it's just a large crowd of men, and this is from the verb kasdamai, to shrink or cower. So he shrank back again into the crowd. Hetaron, that's from hetaron. So it would normally be hetaron, but to get a short syllable here, the iota's been dropped out in order to get a short syllable. So it's not a typo or a misspelling, it's just Homer changing it so they can fit the meter properly. Alienon is avoiding, and carer, from care, it's accusative, is one's fate or death, probably death here, or fate, same thing. So avoiding his fate, he cowered back again into the crowd of his comrades. And we'll finish there.